Welcome back to Qtronics, guys. And recently I bought one of these. That's right, it's a filament dryer. It's bloody huge. And you're thinking, well, why do I need a filament dryer for? Well, here in the UK, humidity skyrockets throughout the year. In the summer, we managed to get down to the 50s. In the winter, we're at the 90s. So on average, we're actually more humid than Florida. So if you know that region in America, you obviously know how humid it can be. Currently, in my office, we're sat at 44% humidity, and that is probably the best part of my house, humidity-wise and temperature. So actually, I realised I probably need one of these filament dryers. Now, I'm not sponsored, and I will go over what this dryer is in a bit later on, but if you want a detailed video on the dryer, let me know and I'll make one. Anyway, so what filament will I be covering today? I'm going to be covering some Elegoo Rapid PETG. I'll have one that I've had for a while and one that's fresh out of the bag. I'll have two different sets of Esun PLA, one that's been open longer than the other. I've got some TPU and I also have some ASA. That's obviously a good amount of filaments with different properties on how much moisture they soak up, with PLA being very easy, to TPU being like a sponge basically. So yeah, anyway, that's what I'm going to be testing today. So getting into, obviously I bought a dryer there. That dryer is a 2-compartment one. So it can do 4 filaments but 2 different temperatures basically. So each one of my filaments will have been dried for 8 hours each at the temperature recommended for that filament. So obviously ASA, for example, you want to be drying them in the 80 degrees Celsius region, whereas PLA, if you did that to PLA, the spool would just melt.
Everything is melting.
So PLA was done in the 50 degree region. So yeah, each one had its own setting, and that was the setting I followed on the dryer itself. I didn't make any adjustments to it. So yeah, everything had 8 hours of drying, and then I brought it out of the dryer straight onto the print bed. And as you can see by the footage going across here, with on my little turntable, I did have a try at it. You'll see each filament and how stringy it can be. And to be honest, TPU is by far one of the worst ones. So it really does make a difference when it comes to drying. But how much difference? And that's the question, right? How much of a difference does it actually make? So before we get on to a breakdown of each filament, I've got some news from our sponsor. So sorry to interrupt your regular viewing of me, but we've got a message from our sponsors, and that's right, our sponsor is, well, it's me, obviously, because who else is sponsoring me? Anyway, when I got to 1,000 subscribers, I did give away a Nintendo Switch Lite modded, that was a Pokemon version, to Jorgen. And basically, it's come to that time of the year again where I'm ready to do a giveaway. So I'm on the road to 2,000 subscribers. So what will I be giving away when I get there? I'll be giving away this Nintendo Switch OLED. Now, I will be modding it when it's due to go, and I will be doing that as the Kamikaze mod. So I'll do a whole video on that. But yeah, there it is. Obviously, it's used, so there will be some blemishes and stuff. But again, it's a competition win, and it will be modded, so you can do what you want with it. And just to add to the deal here, it's boxed as well, so you'll get the nice little box display thing, whatever you want to, you know, people like boxes, what can I say? Anyway, I will be modding it, but I won't be doing any software. There'll be nothing installed. That'll be down to yourselves to do. I'm not messing with that. So obviously, if you do want a chance of winning this, firstly, I need to get past 2,000 subscribers, so you'll need to subscribe, and then once we get there, I'll drop a video with all the information and stuff. So yeah, if you're interested, subscribe to the channel, and I'll hand you back over to your regular viewing. Right, see you in a minute. So then, firstly, I'm going to start off with some Esun PLA. Now, this particular print was done at the very end, and I've only included it because Prusa did some updates to the printer as it went on. So I wanted to eliminate what would happen with said print. So I actually printed these off, dried them, and I wanted to see with a control test, because I have 2 different PLA, because I have 2 Esun PLA models, you should see that actually the changes that Prusa made didn't really do a lot to the test. So anyway, without further ado, let's take a look at some PLA. Right then, so firstly here we have, as I mentioned, some Esun PLA, and if we look at the initial model, you can see the almost, it's almost bobbly as it's going round, and obviously you can see it says S wet here, which is, you know, so you can figure out which one was which, because sometimes with PLA the drying process isn't actually doing that much. Now, in terms of stringing, before there was no real stringing on this. It's this is quite a clean model. There's a little tiny bit here, but other than that, this is a very, very, very good print. And if we look over at the stringing test, which also has a overhang test on it, you can see that actually there was quite a bit of stringing in this part here, but nothing major. Something that you could blast with a heater and you'd be absolutely fine. The overhang also looked quite good. So if we then move on to the one that was dried for 8 hours, you'll see that actually the biggest thing I've noticed is just how smooth those lines are now. You can see it's quite bobbly here, and then it's completely smooth here. It's an absolute perfect finish. It's very, very bobbly. Other than that, I feel like the first layer went on a bit nicer once it had been dried. So overall, again, both of these prints are perfectly fine. This is undoubtedly, the dry is undoubtedly a better finish. Question you have to ask yourself though is the 8 hours worth of electricity and drying worth it just to get a slightly better finish? That's the question you need to ask yourself when it comes to PLA. And when it comes to the tower, I really can't see any difference. The overhang's the same. There's a tiny bit less stringing on there if I put my hands in so you can see. But overall, they're pretty much the same. I don't think with PLA it's really worth drying it that much. Now again, this has been open not that long, maybe 4 months. So yeah, that's that. And now if we move on to the second set of PLA. Now this PLA has been open since Christmas, so at the time of recording this, that's around 9 months away. I bought it for a project at Christmas, so that's how I know it's been open since then. So on the left again here will be the wet, and on the right is the dry. So if we look at the benches first, and I'll break the wet one up first, and again, there's no markings on the wet ones, just to show you what they're like. Now, it's really smooth on this. We've not got the bobbling we had on the other one, so I'm not sure if that's just because this filament has somehow stayed drier, or just the colour, or whatever it is. But that's a really good print. I can't really notice anything on there. There's no stringing at all going through there. And if we bring in the dry one again, I've coloured in the D here, but just to prove that it's dry again, absolutely perfect. I genuinely can't tell a difference in these two at all. If you gave me them both, I don't think I'd see it. I think overall PLA is just a really good material, and I think it'd take maybe submerging it in water for days to really start throwing it off. If we look at the string tests, now this is the wet one, so no drying. That is a dog hair there, not a string. But yeah, there's basically hardly any stringing on this. The overhang looks really good, even at 80%, which is phenomenal really. And again, moving on to the dry one, tiny little bit of stringing around the top there. Overhang is almost perfect. You can see all the way up here. The overhangs on both are just absolutely phenomenal. The Prusa one just absolutely amazing with PLA. So yeah, there is the PLA test. And I think personally, I wouldn't bother drawing PLA in the future unless I had some really bad problems with it. I don't think it's worth it. Now let's move over to the PETG, or the PETG, whatever you want to call it. So firstly, the orange PETG. This is immediately being dry. This was immediately being dry out of the bag. So I printed this as soon as it came out of the box. I literally opened it straight into the computer. And again, as the others, left side here is the wet, as I'm going to call it, but the one that was freshly opened, and then right side is dry. So if we look at the benches first, and this will be what I'm calling the wet benchy. Now there is a tiny little bit of string in there. The layer lines look good. There's no fuzziness to this. Bottom layer looks good, although I will say, obviously it's a bit darker here, which means the purging was a bit funny on it by the looks of it. But yeah, overall, all good. There's a little bit of a layer line there that you can notice with the light. But yeah, overall, Elegoo Rapid PETG, straight out the box, looks perfect. And then if we come over to the dry one, bottom layer obviously isn't as dark because of the cross-contamination that must have happened. But I will say, I do think that bottom layer looked better on the wet one. but I don't know if that's just because it's darker. Oh, actually, there's a little bit of, I want to say rippling or something that's not on the other one. But anyway, so the dry one looking really good. No, there's zero stringing through there at all. So let's move on to the actual stringing test to see how they look now. The so-called wet one again. The stringing running all the way through, I'm going to call the spiral tower here. The bridging looks fine, no issues with that at all. As you can see as we move across, but yeah, there's a lot of stringing here, and the overhang isn't looking great at 80, but all the way up to there, 70 is where it really starts to deteriorate, and then 80, it'd work, but you probably wouldn't want that on a good print. So if we look at the dried again after 8 hours, I'll bring the other one back in a second for you to look. Still stringing coming up the tower here. Stringing in the middle as well. The overhang does look a little bit better, I would say. But overall, they... I would say overall they look almost identical, right? It'd be very objectively hard to pick out what's going on. One thing I will say is this first layer didn't go down as nice as this one did. So again, that could have just been a bit of leftover filament in the extruder and didn't purge properly, or it could just be that it was a little bit wetter, so it didn't go on nice. But the stringing it's almost identical through there, and I think overall the print quality is probably the same. So yeah, again, not worth trying your PETG straight out the box unless you see an actual problem with it. Now let's move on to some PETG that I've had open for about 4 months now. I remember that I bought this particularly for a project where I made some baskets and stuff, so I know how long this has been open. So again, on the left side here we have the wet filament, on the right side the dry. So if we take a look at the benches first, now immediately you can see how fuzzy this is, and these are all printed on the same G code, by the way, for the PETG. It's extremely fuzzy, quite a bit of stringing here. They're not dog hairs, I promise, they are stringing. And if you look into that corner there, you can see the stringing. But yeah, overall, the texture on this just feels horrible. Now we bring the dry one in, and I mean you can see it on camera. That's how much smoother it is. If we get both those in angle there, you can just see the difference. So yeah, really smooth lines. And again, we have the same thing with the PLA. Now, this layer line here, I believe, is just my printer being a bit weird. Again, the core ones, I'm having some issues with it, so I will have a video out about that. But overall, there's only a tiny little bit of stringing on the top here and here. Other than that, that was a beautiful benchy print. And if we move over to the string test then, this is the wet one. Again, stringing all the way through here. It's a common trait with the PETG by the looks of it. But I will say the bridging looks good, but again, the texture on that is awful. And first layer there, and the overhang, again, breaking down around the 70-80 mark, which is phenomenal, really. So if we bring in the dried one, the stringing is less. I would go so far as to say it's significantly less. More importantly, the layer lines look more beautiful here. You can see there's no weird texture going across. If I can get that in shot for you. Look, there's like a weird texture going across it. So yeah, overall, PETG, if you've had it open a while and you're in a humid climate, give it a try. I think that print alone, just that detail there, how this is smooth and this is, it's almost like I've turned on fuzzy, which I haven't, because again it was the same G code on it. But yeah, overall PETG when it comes to drying after it's been out a while is really good. So I'm going to save the TPU for very end, because I think that shows off drying quite a lot. So next up we have the ASA. Now, ASA is one of those materials where you don't really want to be printing it indoors if you can help it. You want to be well ventilated. I did print this indoors, but I've got an advanced filter, so there you go. There's one little caveat to it. And then immediately, as you can see here, the temperature didn't do very well. So let's look at the benches and we'll go over it. Now, ASA can take on water very easily, and if you see here, I'm going to just pull it a little bit. That's a gap there. There's a whole layer line that is shifted all the way through this. It's a bit fuzzy as well, as you can see. Again, with black, it's a little bit harder to get those, but you can see it's not doing great. There's only a little bit of stringing through it, in all fairness, but if I actually get a phone light to go through the bottom of this, there you go. Look at that. The stringing through the middle, it's there, and you can see the crack. With the black, I'll get the phone light out as well, but you can see the crack running all the way through it. And if we move on to the dry, as you can see, I wrote ASA dry on there. Instantly a much smoother finish there. No stringing as well, which I was really impressed with. Zero stringing, and I think this print has turned out really well. There's a slight shift in the layer line here, which might be my printer or whatnot. I'm not sure, but that's really good. And one thing I will show you as well, this is completely flat. This print here warped a lot. So again, I don't know if that's just because it was wet and it just didn't go down very well. But same printer, same print bed, and this warped. So that's not great. If we move over to the temp tests, as you can see, this one snapped off around the 10 mark. Other than that, it wasn't actually that bad of a print. It looks all right. Stringing on it is actually quite minor. I'm very impressed. I'm very impressed how it went down. It's just it fell apart. And I believe that's due to how wet it was. But yeah, as you can see, rubbish really. And if we move over to the dried version, there's no stringing on this. Again, I will get the light out because it just makes it a little bit easier with black parts. Yeah, it's an absolutely beautiful print. ASA does seem to break down a little more at the 80 mark though. But again, a really good overhang there, and the print quality felt great. So yeah, overall, again, ASA, if you've had it open a while, which I did, this has been open around 4 months as well, you can see the difference immediately on it. I'm pleased with that. And then the one that probably people are most interested in is TPU. Now I'm going to say this straight off the bat, TPU strings like an absolute beast. Even with drying, it's still very stringy. I don't know if this TPU could have been done drying more. So if you do want me to dry it more, once you've seen this video, let me know and I'll do a test maybe after like 24 hours of drying or something. Let it really dry out. Anyway, let's move over to the benches. Now this is the wet one, and there's a little bit of stringing, not a lot really, just a little bit of stringing, a bit of a bridge failure there. Nice, very nice print really. Obviously I'm joking here. First layer did go down all right actually though, but yeah, there's an awful lot of stringing on this, as you can see through there. And if we move over to the dry one thing, I don't know if you can see this on camera, but even the top of the dry one just looks better. So yeah, if we move over to the dry one a second. Now, the layers on this are so much better. I don't know if it comes across, but it's so much smoother. Completely different. It's a completely different print. It almost feels like the stringing it's there still because it's TPU, but it's so much less. And then as you can see, layer lines look absolutely beautiful. If anything, I reckon you could probably just get a knife in there and cut out that stringing, and this would be a really nice benchy. Again, it's squishy as well, which I always find amazing with TPU. But yeah, there you go. It's a really, really nice print. And if we then move over to the temp tests, now the overhang, it just didn't print nice on the wet. It still got up to, I want to say 60 or 70 before it started to have a bit of an issue. But the stringing, as you can see, the stringing on this is absolutely crazy. The bridges, I don't know how well TPU would bridge anyway, but yeah, it's not great. But if we move over to the dry one, you will see that actually you can read most of these numbers going up now. Where it failed at 60 before, you can read the 60 and you can read the 70, and actually the stringing is much less. Like I'm really surprised of it. I'm really surprised how much drying the TPU made a difference. Again, TPU is just one of those materials that's just hard to print with anyway. But yeah, look at that. Look how much of a difference that made. But again, nothing better than being able to like flex this. I love it. I really like TPU. It's just a strange material to print with. But yeah, overall, TPU needs drying. I would definitely dry it. This had been open 2 weeks. Only 2 weeks had this been open, and that's how much difference it made. Going forward now, if I bought any TPU, I'd dry it straight off the bat. I'd have it in the dryer immediately before I printed with it. So yeah, overall, there you go. You can see TPU made a massive difference. So there you go then, guys. Hopefully that's been really helpful to yourselves. And obviously, if you do want a full review of the printer, what is it called? It's the Quality Space Pi 4. If you do want a full review of it, let me know and I'll give you my honest opinion on it. But one of the big features for me was the fact it vents out at the back, here and here. Most of the printers don't really vent out, and that really annoys me because I don't get how you can dehumidify without venting out. So yeah, in conclusion, here's my takeaway from this. If you've got TPU, get it in the dryer immediately. Don't even wait. If it's going straight out of the packet, forget it. Just get it dried immediately. If you've got ASA, I think ASA probably would have been fine out of the packet, but if you've left it open for a few months, you're in a humid dry environment, then go and obviously get that dried first and print it. When it comes to PETG and PLA, well, the proof's in the pudding, right? If I get the two dry ones there, you wouldn't really notice a difference on those. They're absolutely perfect. There's nothing wrong on those at all. So I wouldn't really bother. I wouldn't bother getting PETG out of the bag and drying it straight away. It's been sat in the garage for a few months. Then maybe give it a dry. If it's been sat next to your printer for like half a year or something, because it's some nice filament you've done, go and get it dried and then print with it, and you'll notice the difference. Overall, if you're buying it and then printing with it in a month or two's time, I wouldn't even bother. And then when it comes to PLA, again, unless you've had it open for absolute months, I wouldn't bother. You're wasting your time. You're just wasting electricity to dry the PLA. Again, it all depends on where you've stored it and how long you've stored it for. But these have been stored for 9 months in my garage, and you saw my garage is around 60 to 70% humidity here in the summer. And this went through a winter, which we're just encroaching now. So yeah, there you go, guys. Hopefully this video has been really helpful for you. Again, I'm still getting into this whole 3D printer stuff. I'm still a noob when it comes to any of this. So I'm learning as we go. But yeah, let me know if you anything else you'd want me to try and cover about this that you haven't seen done. I probably will have a video coming up with a 0.8mm nozzle, because I had quite a lot of issues on the MK4S and I have yet to use it on the Core 1. So yeah, let me know if you want to see that video. I will have an update video on my Core 1 soon as well, because I took it from the MK4S to the Core 1, and I want to say I've had problems with it. I'm not a happy person when it comes to that. And yeah, obviously I will be doing that giveaway at 2,000 subs. So please like and subscribe if this video has helped you, and I'll catch you next time. See ya.